Hello. Marco Polo, an Italian merchant and traveler, author of the Book of Wonders of the World, which describes his observations during his travels in Asia. Despite doubts of the authenticity of the facts presented in his book, expressed from the moments of its appearance to the present, it is a valuable source on geography, ethnography, history of Iran, China, Mongolia, India, Indonesia, and other countries in the Middle Ages. This book had a significant impact on navigators, cartographers, writers of the 14th to 16th century. In particular, she was on the ship of Christopher Columbus while searching for a route to India. Thanks to the travels of Marco Polo, Europeans discovered the country of China, the fabulously rich Japan, the islands of Sumatra and Java, the richest Ceylon, and the island of Madagascar. A Venetian merchant discovered for Europe paper money, sago palm, coals and spices, which in those days were worth their weight in gold. Ibn Battuta, the Arab traveler traveling for more than 30 years, discovered a distance of about 120,000 kilometers. He reached almost to the equator and proved that the hot equatorial land is inhabited. During 1325 to 1349, he traveled through Arabia, Egypt, Iran, Asia Minor. From Sinop, having crossed the Black Sea, he reached the Crimea. Then Ibn Battuta visited Khwarezm, Bukhara, Afghanistan, and China. In 1349, he returned to Morocco. In 1352 to 53, he traveled through the Sudan, reached Timbuktu on the Niger River. He spent the last years of his life in Fez. The stories of Ibn Battuta about his travels, which he dictated to the secretary of the local sultan, formed the basis of the book, a gift to contemplators about the wonders of cities and the wonders of travel. The work of Ibn Battuta is a valuable source of the history of Ukraine. Herodotus, an ancient Greek historian. One of the first geographers and travel scientists. Based on what he saw with his own eyes and heard stories, he created the first general description of the then known world. He's also known for his descriptions of Scythia, now the south of Ukraine, the northern Black Sea region, lands near the Caspian Sea, North Africa, and descriptions of the life and traditions of the peoples who inhabited these territories. Herodotus described Scythia as a huge treeless plain with fertile soils on which grain plants, onions, garlic, and flax grow, terrain with harsh natural conditions. Winter lasts 8 months, and the air is filled with feathers, snow. He argued that the earth lies on an oval plain, on which the sky rests. It was Herodotus who introduced the concept of historical geography. Eratosthenes, ancient Greek scholar and writer, one of the extremely versatile scientists of antiquity. Eratosthenes studied philology, philosophy, chronology, mathematics, astronomy, geodesy, geography, and wrote poetry and music. The scientist is deservedly called the father of geography. He was the first to call the science of the earth geography, calculated the circle of the earth, determined its dimensions, and identified 5 zones, hot, 2 temperature, and 2 cold, and described their boundaries. Eratosthenes mapped the world using a geographic grid, expanding its boundaries from Greece to the islands of Ceylon and Iceland, and built into a single system the knowledge about Earth accumulated by that time. Claudius Ptolemy, an ancient Greek scientist, mathematician, astronomer, geographer, and astrologer, whose works had a great influence on the development of astronomy, geography, and optics. The period of ancient geography ends with the works of Claudius Ptolemy, Almagest, where he assures that the Earth is the center of the universe, and Advisor on Geography in 8 books. They were accompanied by 27 maps, one of which is a general map of the world. Others are maps of individual parts of the world. Ptolemy especially contributed to the development and application of the theory of cartographic projections. he gave the coordinates of 8,000 points. These data were based almost exclusively on information about the routes of merchants and travelers, and not on astronomical calculations. He was the first to draw parallels and meridians. In the manuscript Geography, Ptolemy, of 1420, on the 8th map of Europe, Ukrainian lands were depicted for the first time with the inscription European Sarmatia. Ptolemy included the result of his statistical observations on the life expectancy of people in the book Tetrabiblos. For example, a man aged 56 to 68 years old was considered old, only after which old age set in. Ptolemy laid the foundations of mathematical geography and cartography. Martin Behem was a German scientist and navigator, creator of the oldest surviving globe, known as the Earth's apple. In 1484, he took part in a voyage to Africa, which lasted almost 2 years, during which time the expedition of Diogo Cana discovered the Gambia and Guinea, the Wolof peoples, visited the mountains of Congo, and arrived back with a lot of spices and valuable cargo. Returning from Africa, Behem began to live in the Azores, where he invented his earthy apple, the globe he named. In 1492, he created a model of Earth in the form of a ball with a diameter of 54 centimeters, on which all the continents and oceans known by that time were visible. Of course, it was an inaccurate reflection, but at that time, it made a breakthrough in science and society. Martin took Ptolemy's maps as the basis for his image, but America is absent on the globe. It was not yet open at that time. The Atlantic Ocean, according to scientists, continued to Asia, but Europe was presented in all its glory. In the usual sense of the globe, there is no latitude and longitude, but there is an indication of the equator and meridians. The tropics are also marked and the signs of the zodiac are applied. The bullet is made of paper mache and plaster, and the images of the continents are printed on parchment, preserved in the German National Museum in Nuremberg. Strabo, Roman geographer, historian, and traveler of Greek origin. The author of the 17 volumes Geography, circa 23 AD, which is the result of geographical knowledge about the world of antiquity, in the 7th and 11th volumes, a description of the Ukrainian lands. In Geography, Strabo sought to describe the Eucumene, the world mastered by man, on the basis of a comparison and generalization of all data known before this time. Therefore, the work is considered in historiography as the result of the geographical knowledge of antiquity. Among the many authors named by Strabo, the geographers Aristophanes, Hipparchus, Polybius, and Posidonius were his main sources. Strabo fully described the Caucasus and the Bosporan kingdom, and was the first scientist to describe the Crimea. According to the author's intention, geography was supposed to serve as a practical guide for Roman statesmen, generals, provincial administration, merchants, etc. So it contains a lot of historical, ethnographic, everyday information. Proof that Strabo played an important role in the development of geography can be detailed descriptions of the countries and peoples of Africa, Asia, and Europe, as well as information about their lives. Not a single ancient author did this to him. Hecatius of Miletus, an ancient Greek politician and writer, geographer, author of the treatise Genealogia, where information about Scythia was presented for the first time. It is considered one of the founders of ancient geography. The work of Hecatius from Miletus, Genealogia, contains a detailed description of the country of the Scythians, modern Ukraine, its rivers, local population, Greek colonies, most of which were founded by compatriots of Hecatius, the townspeople of the Asia Minor city of Miletus. Obviously, it was from the colonists that Hecatius received information about Scythia and plotted them on one of the most ancient European maps. The work of Hecatius is known from references and quotations from later authors. In fragments about the northern Black Sea region, there is the name of only one Greek colony, Kirkinetida, as well as Scythian tribes unknown from other sources, Mirgits, Iseps, Eds, and the Scythian city of Cardas. His main work, which has come down to us in the form of more than 300 scattered fragments, originally consisted of 2 books called Asia and Europe. The border between the continents, as the ancient Greek believed, passed along the Don River, then along the Sea of Azov. It is interesting that these ideas were preserved in the European geography until modern times. It was this historian who began to use the count of years by generation, which was 40 years. He himself complied his own genealogy, in which he described 16 generations of his ancestors. Aristotle, ancient Greek scientist and encyclopedist. He was the first to characterize the nature of the ocean and the earth, to explain the water cycle in nature. He also described the action and nature of the earthquake, winds, rays, thunder and rainbows, meteors and comets, the Milky Way. The scientist argued that the formation of the earth occurs gradually and is so extended in time and space that a person is not able to notice these changes. Aristotle proved the sphericity of the earth, referring to the fact that during lunar eclipses the shadow of the earth on the moon is always round at any latitude. He expounded his knowledge in the field of natural science in the work Physics, Meteorology, On Generation and Corruption, History of Animals, On the Soul, On the Heavens. He systematized the vast natural science material that he and his predecessors had collected. The systematization was carried out on the basis of a critical analysis of hereditary information, own observations, and a philosophical approach.